Welcome to Safe Doesn't Scale. I'm your host, David Walsh, founder of Limelight. This show is for marketing and growth leaders with a chip on their shoulder who are tired of playing it safe. I am so excited to be joined by Mitch from ColdIQ. This has been coming a long time. We got to meet each other quite a while ago, and I've been following your journey for a long time. We finally got you on the podcast. For those that don't know, Mitch is the CEO and founder of ColdIQ. He's got 65,000 followers on LinkedIn, creating content every day, has his whole team creating content. I think everyone is going to enjoy this conversation. Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. And it's soon 66, by the way. It's like 65.9.
But who's counting? We don't count those things. I believe you're calling in from Barcelona at the moment, which is awesome. And I'm based in Los Angeles. I think maybe to kick things off, let's start with just like a question around go-to-market. So you're running your go-to-market agency right now. You help companies scale with AI go-to-market tools. And I think you have a really interesting insight into what's working and what's not working in B2B. So very kind of high level question, but what do you think is not working at the moment in B2B?
Yeah, so I think that everything is working, but then at the same time, like everything is not working. And so what I mean by that is saying you can take any acquisition channel and then you could find reasons why it works and why it doesn't work. So for example, let's take outbound. Is I can tell you what definitely doesn't work right now with outbound. And so one thing that doesn't work is sending the sort of generic at scale, at high volume, like unpersonalized cold emails, because it's like we now came to a point where AI and like all of these tools are flooding everyone's inbox. And so if you want to stand out, you need to send something specific. And just as a rule of thumb, just like lazy AI generated tactics, whatever the channel don't work. So what I see is, for example, I see some people right now, it's actually a big team. They are showing off their whole system where AI writes like, I don't know how many posts for them. I think I saw a few of these posts. And the guy was explaining that he has this AI that just looks at all of the news. And then based on the news, he just finds what content is trending. And then like just goes and then like writes a post completely automated. And then now he has 100 days of content and it took him 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, sounds interesting. And then I go look at the profile of the guy and I see like he gets 3 likes per post. So I'm like, okay, then it took you 15 minutes to have 100 post, but it's like even with 100 posts, you're not getting like how many sort of impressions of business I get from one post. And so I feel like this sort of logic with just like implementing AI in GTM has spread negatively across all channels. And so you'll see like people running AI generated ads at huge scale, but like all of the ads are garbage. You see like this AI generated content at scale, but there's not one single piece that generates impression. And then you see like those AI cold emails at scale, and like those AI cold emails make no sense, right? So I said this, like all of these things don't work. What we see that works is like obviously like you can rely on AI, but it's actually like taking time to create some high quality pieces, whether it's a high quality outbound message. For example, now that everybody is like using AI to automate outbound at scale, you know what? Let's just do the opposite. You go on each profile you want to reach out to, you make a list of 25 very high level people that you really want to have, whether it's in your podcast or whether it's like to have a meeting with, and now you actually spend the time to look at what they do and find and write something that AI couldn't write just because like AI doesn't write like humans do. Likewise, when it comes to content, and it's like just take the extra time to take say 1 hour to actually craft a piece that resonates with you, that you actually deem helpful. Take some time to package it in a way that's visually appealing for LinkedIn. This is something we can talk about, obviously. But
Yeah,
then
for sure.
these things that don't scale actually scale way better than those AI generated volume plays, because of the fact that a single message can be reused like a lot of times if you uncover some gaps, some pain points that will resonate with other people. Or like a single LinkedIn post, even if it doesn't scale to take like 1 hour to make it, can be seen by tens of thousands of people. And so again, so like we are seeing ads work, we are seeing organic content, specifically LinkedIn, work very well. SEO works very well for us. So it's like embedding sort of technology within content, and outbound works well for us. But it's like quality first is the keyword,
I love
and then
that.
you scale.
I love that. And you know what? Like everyone with AI has become experts. And I think what you're saying is quality over quantity is the focus. So like, how do you stand out from the crowd? It's much better to do something really well than just kind of blanket spam your TAM. And so Excited to hear that. I think what people are interested in, and I'm sure many people watching this, right, know you, they've seen you on LinkedIn, they've probably seen your team's content. When did you decide to go all in on content on LinkedIn? And more importantly, how big of a part of your go to market is that right now?
Oh yeah. So yeah, completely transparently, I think nowadays LinkedIn is still responsible for over 70% of the leads
Wow.
we generate. And like we've been consistently booking over 100 B2B meetings, and I'm talking qualified meetings for the past at least 18 months. And to be totally transparent, like I never expected LinkedIn to be such a machine for us. So the reason why I actually started with LinkedIn is, I started the agency Jan 2023. I went full time on the agency. I sort of had the website and so on, but like it's in Jan 2023 that I just like decided I was gonna commit. And I was sending cold emails, and obviously like cold emails were very efficient because I still believe it's the most cost efficient way to get started because it doesn't cost you much to just get inside of the inbox of someone with a very well crafted message. But one thing I didn't like about cold emails is that every time you start again, every time you contact someone new, you're like starting back at point zero. It's like I could write the best email and reach out to you, Dave, but then it's like David prefers David than Dave. But like but then I could when I'm reaching out to someone else, then it's the same thing, right? It's like they don't know me. So like say me being successful at writing a message that works for you, aside from like the skills I'm getting, doesn't sort of improve my odds of being more successful when I'm reaching out to someone else. And so I was thinking, okay, like cold email works, but I need something that compounds over time. I need to have some sort of
Mm,
moat so that like running this business just becomes easier as we go. And so I landed on this idea that I just needed to make, say, one channel work, say like one organic channel, because I believe that like the beauty of content and the downside of content is that on one hand, content is free, so like anyone can just go on LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever platform, and just like decide to post. And somehow you are getting those free impressions, right? Which is still crazy to think about. Now, like the downside is that typically in the beginning, when you're just getting started, no one cares about what you're writing. And so it is free to write on LinkedIn, but like if it's your first post, you're probably not gonna have more than 100 people seeing the post. Even though 100 people somehow, is still like a pretty good performance if you think about having 100 people in front of you. And so like what I did is in February 2023, I think, I just committed to posting once per day, every working day for 3 months straight
I love that.
before
Yeah.
before allowing myself to give up. And the
Mm.
reason why I did that is because I had tried LinkedIn a few times before. I had tried other channels, and I always gave up like way too soon to be able to know that there was a chance that would make it happen. And so I figured that the biggest like likelihood for me to fail at this would be that I would give up too soon. And so I just thought to myself, I'm going to be posting every day for 3 months straight, and whatever happens, I'm going to be proud of my consistency as opposed to the outcome. And then we'll see what happens
I
eventually.
I think people that watch this will resonate a lot with that, right? There's the idea of like you see somebody creating content, you're like, wow, like look how far they've come and look how much great content that they're producing. But the reality is at the beginning, it is so hard and you have to commit to it for a long period of time to see that compounding nature. I think what's fascinating for the people listening to this is that 70% of your business comes from LinkedIn, and doing email outbound is always great to keep making sure that your prospects are aware of who you are. Sometimes it can feel sort of irritating if you do it too often and they're not in market, whereas content is educational and you're still at the top of the mind of every single person because you're in their newsfeed and it's not as intrusive. It's like, oh, I know Mitch because he runs ColdIQ and his whole team are the experts at go-to-market AI. Like you kind that, you become known for that. And content has obviously been very effective for you all. How did you get your team to start doing this? Because I think that people watching this, and I work with HubSpot, Webflow, ZoomInfo, we help them do paid content partnerships with influencers. And one of the big things that I'm always, how big is your employee advocacy program? And they're like, oh, we tried to start it. We have a software. We couldn't really activate our employees. Or, we're now really interested in this. It's become a KPI that we're tracking. We want to get our employees to create content. But there's this hurdle of how do you get them to commit to it? Like a business owner, like yourself, you have a team that has huge followings right now and are consistent creating content. How did you get that to happen? And yeah, tell the audience what they need to do to get their employees to create as good content as you do.
Yeah, this is a big topic, and just I just want to jump on what on something you said because it resonates a lot. You said content isn't as intrusive, whereas cold email is intrusive, and I agree with you. I find that like at the end of the day, like you're writing something, you're writing a piece, and then you're gonna be putting it in front of anyone. That's the case whether it's content, ads, or outbound. But then like the difference is the sort of psychology of the person seeing the piece of content. If it's a cold email, then they're trying to delete emails from their inbox. They're trying to get to
Yeah.
inbox zero. It means you have very, very little real estate to get your point across, but you can target in a very effective way, right? Now, if it's content, it's someone that's in education mode. They are looking perhaps to be like being educated from what you're talking about. So now you have more real estate. You can even add images. And so there's actually, say, more room to convince people of your sort of value proposition. And I think that's the main difference. But the beauty of doing content is that whatever you do is going to improve, right? And so that's something we've seen as well is just like us growing our audience. Now, if I'm sending you a cold email, David, then the first thing you might do is to be thinking like, who's this guy emailing me, right? And so now, obviously, then you look me up, you find my LinkedIn profile, and guess what? I'm trying to sell you something, but then at the same time, every day I'm educating my audience on the very same thing I'm trying to sell you on. So there's like obviously way more likelihood that you'll trust me.
And
And
there's
so
huge trust, right? Exactly.
yeah,
That's it. It's like you've built the trust.
exactly. And so, because we are talking about trust, and I think this is a good parallel for this whole employee advocacy program. For us, we are an agency. And when you're an agency, it's like the core of your business is the people. It's like people are the products because people are going to be the one delivering the service. And so,
Mm.
the issue is like when you run a founder led sort of content playbook, is that people actually have a lot of trust in me, but then they want to work with me, right? I'm the one that has been like publishing this educational content that they liked and that pushed them to book a meeting with me. But now I'm telling them, hey, like this is someone else is gonna be who's gonna be like taking care of you. So they're like, yeah, but like, are they any good? Like, how do I know if they are good? Like, you know. And so this is what I was thinking. I was like, okay, actually, having people post bridges this gap because now what happens is that
Mm.
if you see that like all of my employees are also posting some very educational pieces, then some actually have favorites, and so some people come to me and they say, oh, by the way, can we work with Kenny or can we work with Monica? Like
No
we
way.
are, yeah, like this is something that happened because they did grow their audience to a big
Wow.
following. And so this is like the added value where it's now everybody has social proof and it's just expanded. And then, having, because I think we have like Q4 of 2025, we had 24 separate people who published at least 3 times during the quarter.
Mm.
I think in total we made 583 posts, if I'm not mistaken, collectively as a team. And I should find the stats, but organically we added 155K in monthly recurring revenue in this quarter just through the content by having everybody post.
Wow.
Yeah, and obviously like having people who post is a big challenge, and I could talk about it for 20-25 minutes, but I'll say it's like the most important thing is one, if you want to have an employee advocacy program, it needs to start at the top. So you need
Hmm.
someone who's an exec in your company that's going to commit because you need to lead by example for two reasons. Like, first reason is why would your employees post every day if you're not imposing that to yourself? But second, like they need someone to guide them because it's very difficult. And so who is that going to be? If you haven't cracked LinkedIn, or if you don't have any person in your team that's cracked, you need to rely on some expensive outside consultants that will help your team. And so like it just makes it more difficult. Then the second thing is you want to make it as easy as possible. And so, for example, like one thing we've seen on LinkedIn is that if you add visuals to your post, at least like for us, it goes as far 3x up to say 10xing the amount of impressions. But like creating a nice infographic takes time. And so again, so like the psychology of why infographic converts is just because like it takes the entire real estate on on the feed, and it can serve as a second hook. So it's like you have your first hook, then like there's this big image that's very visually appealing, makes people stop, but it takes a lot of time. So what we did is like we just put some designers at the disposal of all of our team, which means that now they can have some super nice visuals to accompany their post, but they just need to be thinking of the writing bit. They focus on
Right.
sharing their insights, and now there's like a nice professional packaging next to the post, which means that whatever amount of effort they put towards writing the post, they are getting say like 3x, 4x the results, which is very motivating. And then what happens is that when employees get used to like the notifications popping up and popping up, they just get addicted. I
Yeah.
see them
Yeah.
at 11 p.m. They're gonna be connected on LinkedIn just checking their likes. Once it happens, you win. You converted someone,
And
and then
and
yeah,
And you know what's really interesting is that you've tied it to revenue, right? So it's not like a feel good post on LinkedIn, create content because it's good for your personal brand. It's actually create content because we're tracking it and how it drives revenue. And it becomes almost like a sales mechanism. So even if you're not in the sales department or sales team of ColdIQ, if you're creating content, you're driving revenue. And I think that's really interesting. I actually selfishly have you on the call now. And one of the questions I had for you was about this visual designer because I saw your posts on LinkedIn and I was like, your visuals, if people are watching this and have not seen Mitch on LinkedIn, go to Mitch's LinkedIn, go to ColdIQ, look at his team. The visuals that you guys are creating are so captivating. Even the animation, it's so, sometimes very small, but it draws your eyes to like what's happening, and it's so fascinating because you're often promoting other products and other tools and tech stacks, and I'm sure those tech stacks and tools and people love this content that you're creating. So there's this kind of natural or flywheel of you promoting content organically, but also have those visuals. I actually had a DM that I was going to send to you, which is tell me who your visual designer is because I need that person to create content. I feel like that's the next step for my content is to get a visual designer and start to do this a bit more, take it a bit more seriously because it seems to be have a huge impact for you. Can we
yeah.
talk just briefly about SEO? You said SEO works for you, and I've seen you guys create content and I suppose include all of these different tools, especially on your website and other things. So tell us, like, how does this work? And why did you start to promote these other products, and did it happen organically, and how is the content performing, and how does this strategy work for others that might be interested in building out a content strategy that includes promoting other products?
It's funny actually. It goes back to the birth of the agency. Like the whole thing is, I actually created some tool directories before I created the agency, and the reason for that is that back in the days I had an affiliate business that was generating 6 to 8K per month passively, and so the way I was making money was through this gambling affiliate business, where if you were to sign up using my link, then I would get some sort of a commission. And at some point, Belgium banned sports betting bonuses. So all of a sudden, my website became useless overnight. But I figured I could actually translate this affiliate business model to a space that I knew of. And in this case, outbound is a space I was very familiar about. And so I figured if I'm promoting sales prospecting tools and I create some sort of SEO optimized blog articles, and I have some organic traffic on them, people will click my links and then I make some commissions on the back end. And so I was thinking that I would be making some recurring affiliate money. But what eventually happened is that as I was writing these articles, people were asking me, hey, Mish, this is interesting, but do you actually offer that as a service? I would like someone to implement that for me. And so I would just keep saying no up until a point where I needed money. And I just gave a price and I said yes. And this is actually how the agency was born. It was like,
No way.
accidental, yeah. But then because I was talking about tools that much, I accidentally uncovered that me talking about sales prospecting tools was a very effective way to acquire outbound to clients for outbound. And so I continued and I capitalized on that on LinkedIn. But then like when it comes to SEO, it's you can just like frame the writings or the insights in a slightly different way, just so that like Google picks them up and then it works. Not like what we are doing SEO wise that I think is groundbreaking and that I think the market will catch up on soon enough is that we are embedding technology within those articles. And like to give you an example of that is a proper SEO optimized article would be to write how to find email addresses. Because if I'm writing how to find email addresses, then I get to promote a few email finding tools, and then I get to put an affiliate link and then make a commission on the back end, right? But then I think that with ChatGPT and other LLMs coming in, it's like, why would you go on Google, click how to find email addresses, and then look at some results, click on my page, and then finally decide that that's where you get the information, or you can simply ask ChatGPT. And so what that means, I believe, is that like you need to provide a superior experience to ChatGPT. And so what we started doing is we started like embedding some mini tools so that when I explain to you how to find email addresses, Then at some point, I'm telling, hey, Dave, if you actually want to find email address, you can actually use this free tool. So just put your first name, your last name, and then your company website, and then look at if it does find your email address, or you could do the same experience with someone who's a prospect of yours.
Wow. So wait, this is embedded into the web page, like into the like you're actually embedding the thing, or it's more of a form that they fill out?
No, it's embedded inside. So
Wow.
if you look at the latest articles on our blog, you can look like I think like the latest ones that I wrote. You can check any sort of tutorial, and then you'll see there are some tools embedded. Because my goal here is to make you experience the feeling. It's like if I'm talking to you and explaining to you how to find email addresses, it's not enough to just describe what you can do. I want you to leave the article having experienced the actual email finding. And so it's okay,
Wow.
now it's embedded inside. You can find it for free. So now you know that whatever I told you, this is the best proof that it works. You tried your own email address or your own phone finder, and now you see it. And so I think that with this AI coding platforms and so on, this is what it unlocked. Marketers can now easily build mini tools. So if I want to convey a point, I can write it, obviously, because this is like the first way for me to communicate any sort of value proposition on any topic. But then I can go one step further and make you experience it. So now you have proof that whatever I'm talking about is something you can trust.
I think people watching this need to realize just how smart and how ahead of the curve you are with that, because I haven't even heard of that before. I feel like the resources that we put on Limelight, by the way, before I go any further, I need you to promote Limelight in one of these blog articles, because we'll give you an embedded link and we'll give you the ability to search the database and do something cool with that collaboration. My team would kill me if I didn't bring that up. But that's so interesting. I think what you're saying is like, let's actually show how this works and allow the user and the consumer to experience it. And then they're going to come back to that content. They're going to look at you as the trusted leader. They're going to accept your opinion as fact. And I just think that's so interesting. I need to think about that for our own business. And I'm sure everyone else listening too is thinking about how they can do that. Now, not every business is going to be promoting lots of other products, but I think the strategy is today, as a founder of a software company, you should be communicating with people in your niche and building sort of a community and being able to rely on them and promote them, because that cross pollination of audiences and community is really powerful. I know it's worked for you guys. So we've talked a lot about go to
Yeah.
market, what's not
And,
working,
and
what is
David,
working.
sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, because I'm just thinking, because you were talking about this, you need to do it. I'm like, okay, for Limelight, I feel like something you should do is, okay, say brands are your clients, right? Brands want influencers to partner with, and obviously, like your marketplace facilitates this contact, right? And so I'm thinking is, let's say you could have this free tool where brands could say, hey, like, this is my topics, and I'm looking for influencers, and then it could surface, say, like 3 to 5 influencers talking about these topics, saying reach out to them. So now they actually have some tailored recommendations to their very topic, because you actually own the data. You have the data, you have the marketplace. And so like now it gave them for free a taste of what's doable, and they never even had to sign up to the product. But now the next step obviously is to say, if you want to reach out to these guys, they're actually active inside of the Limelight community. And so now you can click up, you sign up, and then now they have it. And so this is really the idea. Like, how do you give them a taste of what they are gonna get in the most frictionless way possible?
Mitch, I did this podcast selfishly because I knew the conversations I was having with founders and executives and growth and marketing leaders were really interesting. But what I realized is that I'm actually learning through the process. And this is actually an interesting for just product inspiration. We just moved from a product led strategy with our marketplace to a sales led strategy. And my back of my mind, I woke up this morning thinking, are we making a mistake? We want more people to use this product and we're creating more friction. What you've just given me is a really interesting nugget to say, actually, we could have a lead magnet essentially that is frictionless, that is somewhat restrictive, and it's like a micro product. I honestly think I'm going straight to the product team right now, and they're going to be like, where did you learn this? I'm going to be like, on the podcast with Mitch. Mitch, I feel like we've talked a lot about AI and go to market, and you're the expert at this, and people need to follow you on LinkedIn and follow you and the ColdIQ journey. Can't speak more highly for your content. I think what's interesting is I would love your take on where are people wasting budget today. If you're a marketing leader, a growth leader, and you've got, let's call it $100,000 a month to spend, where do you see people wasting money at the moment, given when you onboard with customers, you learn about what's working and what's not working? Where are you seeing the biggest waste? Would love your take on that.
Yeah, for me, like ads can be very effective, but like ads is, I guess, like the number one way for companies to waste money, because it's like limitless, right? You can just set a budget and somehow the ad platforms are gonna spend it. The ad platforms are gonna spend it. So it means like you go Google Ads, Meta Ads, you tell it spend 20K, and then it's gonna spend the money. And so, for example, like if you think of Google and you let it go broad in terms of targeting, say you put 20K in ads, now actually it's just gonna find some keywords related to your brand and then make you show up for these keywords. But then like this keyword can be your very own domain name. So now it's like someone was searching for Limelight, Google show an ad for Limelight. Now you click, people click on it. You are paying for this click, which was a click that you were gonna get anyways. And sometimes it's more subtle in the way you are wasting money. But what happens with this platform is that whatever happens, like they're gonna attribute the click to themselves. So imagine if I make 5 LinkedIn posts about Limelight, and after my 5 LinkedIn posts, someone searched for Limelight on Google because they were like, oh, what this Michel guy was talking about was interesting. Now they land or they see like this Google ad. So instead of clicking on the organic results, they click on the ads. Now
And you're
Google
paying for that, right?
and you're paying for that. And Google, what do Google say? Google say, hey, David, I gave you a client. What did they convert?
Mitch, I'll actually give you an exact example. I used to work at Indeed, a large job site, and I sold cost per click ads. And what we had was a model where if a brand told us the budget, the algorithm would just spend the budget. It finds a way to spend the budget. And what you're saying is that is inefficient and people can set up. So what should they do actually? Rather than me could think about this and try come up with something on the fly, what do you recommend they do if they know that they're wasting budget with cost per click models? How do you limit that?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, like there are a lot of negative keywords you can implement and so on, but I just think that the big issue with ads as like a strategy is that like it doesn't help build your brand, you know. And so, well, I think that like at the moment, one of the biggest arbitrage opportunities is relying on creators, and I think, and I'm seeing like in the at least the B2B GTM SaaS space, a lot of companies like running this playbook very effectively. You look at the likes of Clay, the Full and Reach, the Instantly. All of these guys are relying on creators because what's happening is that at the moment, creators are able to generate a good chunk of impressions, you know, like effortlessly. But like what actually happens with this content creation is that it's educating your market through like a lot of different brand voices, you know. So it's like if I'm making a post about Clay, but then like you're making a post about Clay, my competitor is making a post about Clay, it's like three different ways of seeing it. And so it's like you are tapping into the reputation of someone that's trusted by a community, but on top of that, you get the traffic generation, the brand generation. And so I can tell you, and so I cannot tell you like who specifically because you know it's like I don't want to be like saying some information
You
that's
don't want
not
to spill the
right.
tea?
I don't
I
want to
got
spill
it.
the tea, but like what I'll say is that say I talk with a lot of GTM SaaS founders just because of what I do, and it's like the first thing I do if I were GTM SaaS founder would be to launch an influence program. I can tell you like the biggest hurdle that some of these guys have when it comes to getting more out of influence marketing isn't like not a question of this isn't proving a good ROI. It's like how do I find more creators to make more posts? That's the reason why they're not able to scale that further, at least like the people I'm chatting with. And so I think it's one of the best play. And I've seen like some companies executing that pretty effectively, especially if you think of you have a brand new SaaS, you're at the beginning of marketing it. The first thing you need before getting eyeballs is like you need some brand association with someone who's in the space, has been in the space for a long time, so that like you generate some
Right.
trust. And I know
Yeah.
that like Ben from Food and Rich, like he was talking about it, like in these of Food and Rich, he was talking to me about how in the beginning what he wanted to do was just associate with some big
Yeah.
names in GTM because then it meant okay now actually people are taking this tool seriously. And then, like later down the line, it's like you would be looking into, okay, how do I make an influence program effective or like profitable? But it's really like for me like one of the best plays because it serves both the say traffic generation purpose, but also the reputation.
Yeah, you're
So yeah,
hijacking the trust of the creators, and I didn't pay you to say that, by the way. I didn't think that you're gonna go in that direction, but I 100% agree with you, of course. And finding creators is challenging. It's all about that consistency. It goes back to what we talked about, right? If you're creating content yourself, it is time consuming, and when you create content with creators, you're dealing with human beings. It's also time consuming. We have some cool tools that are in the making right now to make all of that content creation piece and that make that more efficient. But I want to leave with one last thing, and I'm super interested to know what are the big bets that you're making at ColdIQ right now. You said that you started this 2013, was that right? No, sorry, 2023.
Yeah, 2023.
Wow. Okay. I felt like you were doing this much longer. Jeez, that's crazy. All right. It's 12 months from now. We get to do another podcast together. What are some of the things what are the big bets that you're making right now for this coming year?
Yeah, I have a few because I'm actually like at heart I am a marketer, and so it's like making bets is my entire life. But so like essentially like we've got our channels that perform very well right now, right? So like we've got this trifecta of channels, which is connecting the LinkedIn ads and the LinkedIn content and the outbound together. And so like these three channels together, it's like they are sort of GTM flywheel. This is pretty effective, and so it's like if something is not broken, don't fix it. So like we're like doubling down on this. Now that said, like the way I think about, say, I think that with AI and now like with this AI coding software, like they revolutionize the space to a point where you cannot build your strategy without thinking about this. And what I like to do is like I like to bet on them and I want to bet against them, which means betting on them is saying everybody is going to be looking at LLMs to find answers. And so obviously like search engine, not search engine, like answer engine optimization or geo, whatever people want to call it. This is
Yeah.
something that's probably going to be eating search over the long term, or it's actually going to be like a big player. Like you want to be optimizing for it. So it's like in that regard, we are making content not just for humans to consume it, but for LLMs to consume it, because it's like you need to be referenced in those results. And so this is one thing. Now, the other thing I'm thinking of is, okay, it's like there's what AI changes, but then I think Jeff Bezos was talking about it. He was like, someone asked him a question about what AI will change, and he said, I can tell you what AI won't change. And so,
Love that.
yeah, and so one thing I'm thinking is like with AI, like with AI generated slop, it's gonna be more and more difficult to have authentic content in front of you and being 100% convinced or sure that this is not AI. And so I think that this means that you need to be making content where people cannot be thinking this is not AI. And so the way you do so is by making interactive content or in-person content. So interactive, in-person, live content. So like the sort of content where people are either physically seeing you or seeing you in live. And this is not an AI robot making this.
So wait, there's a ColdIQ. I feel like you're about to tell me there's a ColdIQ conference coming up in 12 months from now. In-person events is now in. If this happens in Barcelona, you have to give me the invite.
David, just book a flight for June. Like just save the date. June in Barcelona, we're gonna be throwing a big event.
I promise you, I swear this isn't a lie. I actually have two weddings in June in Spain, and let's make it happen. Look, we're finishing up, Mitch. Where can people find you? Where do you want to direct people to? Yeah, where
Yeah,
can they find you online?
yeah. People can find me on LinkedIn. So Michel Lieben, Michel space Lieben. And I had a YouTube channel, which I still have. I haven't been very active on, but I'm now back. I'm back on track. I'm gonna be frequently posting. So if you want to have the sort of deeper insights or the longer form of my LinkedIn thoughts being spoken in video, then you can also follow me on YouTube, because some crazy good content is coming.
Love that.
At least I'm gonna
Love
try
that.
to do.
Where do you get the time? You're running a business, you're running an agency, and you're a content creator, best in the business. Mitch, thanks for joining us. I really enjoyed this conversation. I know people are going to learn a ton from this. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, likewise, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Safe Doesn't Scale on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Limelight is the leading AI-powered B2B influencer marketplace and social signals platform. Brands like HubSpot, Webflow, and ZoomInfo use Limelight to power influencer programs at scale. Start your first campaign at limelighthq.com.